brings up a couple of points. One of the things is we put in government when it gets around to doing so, usually because it's reactive and necessarily so, then leads to rules and regulations being put in place, which are once put in place, very difficult to remove.
Mhm.
So we're seeing that today with regard to issues with regard to the disease that's running around and the obligation either to put on masks or to get vaccinated.
Mhm.
So there's now CDC recognition that vaccination status is important, but that natural immunity is more powerful than
Mhm.
the vaccination by itself. And vaccination plus immunity is stronger yet again, meaning that if you've had the disease and you've been vaccinated, then you're stronger than you are if you've only had one of the two.
Mhm.
At the same time, there's a recognition now by Johns Hopkins study that says that the lockdowns and the mandates have not been effective,
That's right.
and we can kind of look to science to prove that out. But at the same time, government is still mandating masks and vaccinations, and
Mhm.
sometimes, and there's now a movement in California that would allow 12-year-olds to get vaccinated without parental consent
Mhm.
and not even tell their parents about it. So there's a challenge there. Um, so it seems to me that this is a flavor of secular faith.
Mhm.
In other words, I'm putting my faith in government as opposed to something else. Is that a fair characterization?
I'm afraid it is. We're in such a complex day now when there's so little of the world that I really understand, that I really want to trust somebody beyond me that understands what I don't. My life is so complex. I have so much to deal with. I'm trying to keep my marriage together and raise my kids and get along in this very, very complex world. So I really want to outsource all the decisions that I don't have to make, especially when those decisions require a level of expertise I don't have. I, for instance, have no idea how the technology works by which we're having this conversation right now. And if somebody wants to come along and, for instance, ask questions about censoring social media for the common good or not for the common good, and wants to get into the weeds of what that looks like and how that works, I can't follow that argument very far. So I just want to trust somebody else with that. It's always been human nature to do that. We've always wanted to outsource hard decisions to somebody else, always wanted to believe in those that were fighting battles we didn't therefore have to fight. But that's been exacerbated, I would say, as the world's become more complex. And as people have figured out, this is how you get ahead, is by that very formula. So Todd, when we started this ministry back in 2009, I was talking to a good friend of mine who'd been involved in not-for-profit space for a long time and asking him for some advice about how to do this. He asked, well, how's this going to be funded? I said, well, it'll be donor-based. So then he asked, well, who's your enemy? And I said, well, what do you mean? And then he said, not facetiously, although it didn't apply to us, I trust, I hope. He said, to raise money, you do three things. First, you convince people they have an enemy. Second, you convince them they can't defeat their enemy. Third, you convince them you will defeat their enemy if they'll give you money or vote for you or whatever it is. Isn't that happening in our culture, huh? And so even more than the complexity of the world, it's all the folk that want to maximize that complexity, that want to make it sound even worse than it is, perhaps, that want to even make the demons bigger and stronger and make the other side even more dangerous so that then you will elect them or give money to them or whatever it is they want you to do so
Or
that they'll
watch them
go
on
fight the
TV?
battle you don't have to.
Yeah, or
I'm
watch
sorry.
them on TV, or watch them on TV.
Watch them on TV. Yeah, whatever it is I want you to do. That's how the psychology works in a culture that's more fearsome than maybe it's ever been.